Yeah, it's probably far off. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and don't forget to hit that like button. Sucker Punch is of course a developer known for the infamous franchise and the Sly Cooper series. They made one of the first PS4 exclusives with Infamous Second Son, and later that year they released Infamous First Light. So after that they started working on a new title that we know a very little of. First, it will probably be a new IP. Industry insider Shinobi602 over on NeoGAF said simply the following, quote, "Sucker Punch is working on a new IP," end quote. This was a reaction to the Scalebound cancellation and the fact that Sony has an incredible slate of exclusive games coming, while Microsoft is still banking on the same franchises over and over again. And why should you trust Shinobi602? Well, if you watch my channel a lot of times, you probably know it already, but anyway, he was right about things many times before. He teased Horizon Zero Dawn a year before the release, and he also teased The Last of Us 2 before the PlayStation Experience 2060 reveal. We can totally trust him, and it also makes sense. I mean, Sucker Punch first worked on 3 Sly games, then 3 Infamous titles, if we don't count, of course, the standalone DLCs they did. It's time for them to move on. And Sony doesn't need a new game fast. I mean, the PS4 is selling like hotcakes, and there are a lot of first-party studios ready to release their games. Sony is not in a hurry, so Sucker Punch can just take their time. The time it needs to make a new IP. And also Second Son was kind of a step down if you compare it to Infamous 1 and Infamous 2 in terms of story. The gameplay was fantastic, I really enjoyed myself, but it was not as memorable as the first Infamous games on PS3. It's time for something new, but what? And why do I think it's still far off? We already know that this will probably be an open world game. Fred Zellang, that left Sucker Punch in December 2015, made, quote, "original narrative content and believable characters for an open world game, communicated story ideas and plans, and advocated for excellent storytelling across the team and product," end quote. We can tell multiple things from this. 1. That it's indeed an open world game. I mean, he worked on this title, he's now gone. And 2, that there will be a huge focus on story and emotion as well. Sucker Punch has even opened a new motion capture studio in May 2015. Also, job listings in April suggest that they want to push the character visuals even further. And this is what I found on the resume of Blake Mead. With a D, not with a T. No, calm down. He is a junior environment artist that started working at Sucker Punch in January 2017, so just a month ago or even less, after he made this amazing art. No, this is not a real person, this was created with a computer, yeah, really. Okay, but let's get back to Fred Zellang, I hope I pronounced that right, for a second, because he is the narrative designer that left Sucker Punch in December 2015. Before his gig at Sucker Punch, he worked on Kingdoms of Amalur, and with Bethesda, he worked on Fallout 3 and the early stages of Skyrim. He also worked with 2K as a narrative designer for Evolve and XCOM Declassified. He's now with the developer of The Division. And while his time at 2K might be different, I think that we could be looking at an RPG for Sucker Punch here. I mean, they've hired Zellang, knowing that he had a lot of RPG experience. On the other hand, he also left after 10 months, so maybe this was not a great fit after all. But there's more that points towards an RPG for Sucker Punch. There are job openings that posted in May 2015 that have some RPG hints as well. They needed a mission designer that could create experiences that grab hold and won't let go. Experience so engrossing that hours go by before you are willing to put down the controller. This sounds like an RPG to me, a game where you just want to get lost in. But I have to say though that, and this might sound weird, I've played Infamous 2 and Infamous Second Son in one sitting. Finished the whole game through without quitting. I don't know why, and I normally don't really do this for any other game, but these games, man, so fucking great. And yeah, addicting. I mean, who finishes the game in one sitting? It's insane, I don't know why, but I did it, okay? I did it. Other info about this new PS4 exclusive from Sucker Punch Games, give it to me already, is that melee combat will be important in this game, because they needed a combat designer that would be responsible for a focus on, quote, melee combat, end quote. Also interesting is that the listing says, quote, if you have shipped a third-person title where you helped make the combat awesome, please send us your resume. End quote. So they're probably working on a third-person game, right? Otherwise, why know that? So to recap, the new Sucker Punch game will probably be an open-world game, a new IP, so no Infamous title. It will probably be a third-person game with a focus on melee combat and maybe an RPG. It could be. And also, there will be a strong focus on character visuals. They even opened a new motion studio. And something I haven't noted yet, they also spoke about characters having their own clothing line. I mean, this could really be an RPG with different tribes of groups of people that have their own gear and stuff like that. I would be down for another open world RPG from a Sony first party studio. Before I get into the when will it release stuff, I think it's interesting to take a look at some awesome artworks from concept artists that are working on this new Sucker Punch game. So by no means is this the game that they are working on, but it's still interesting if you think about the fact that they make these concept arts, this artwork that I will just show you, when they're working on this game. So they might take some inspiration or think, oh, this would be cool. I mean, if you're totally working on this game, you might be focused on that. I don't think that this is a weird assumption. And also Horizon Zero Dawn leaked the same way with concept arts. So that makes it even more interesting. Okay, let's take a look at the work from the concept artist at Sucker Punch, Ian Young Wai Chu. I totally butchered that name, sorry about that. He posted this 3 months ago. He calls it sketches. For what? We don't know, but it looked like some sort of town. Then, if we compare this to something that John Paul, another concept artist at Sucker Punch, made, we kinda see the same vibe here. He calls it Raider Cave, especially the materials that the buildings are like made of are kinda similar. I don't think that this might be the real game. Small chance, but like I said, it's interesting to see the similarities. What Paul also made, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, is this and this. And if we compare it again to Ian Young, we see that they are both like interested in unique environments, a sort of futuristic but sci-fi setting. So this might mean, and this is really far-fetched, I can't stress it enough, that the new Sucker Punch game will be a sci-fi type of game, and that this is all art for that. Far-fetched, but still, think about it. So when will we see this game? I know that I said that this game is probably far off, and yeah, I really think it is. During E3 2015, Sony Worldwide Studios president Shuei Yoshida said that he played the game. Later, Rody, the Worldwide Studio America boss, said that he played the Sucker Punch game as well, saying that it's fun, but what they played at this early stage might not be what the game is going to be. And this was at the end of 2015. I already mentioned the ton of job openings and the fact that Sucker Punch opened a new motion capture studio. This was in May 2015. The job listings also May 2015. So they probably started their proper full production around that time, meaning that the game is not even in full production for 2 years now. Okay, that doesn't mean that they didn't start with some people after they finished Infamous First Light. In October 2014, Matt Vaino, man I butchered that name, switched from a senior to a lead visual effect artist, probably on the new game. But a year from that, there were still new people coming into the studio. Samuel Holly started in October 2015 and Amy Payne in September 2016. Wait, what? What? She is not the only one that started in 2016. There's also this senior animator in 2017. Sounds like a pretty important job to me to have a senior animator, and he just started. He just started like a few days ago when I record this video. Lead writer from Telltale, January 2017. Oh man, this game is not going to be coming out in 2018, I think. And it could be even a PS4 cross PS5 game. Is this weird though? I mean, it looks like Quantic Dream, Sony Santa Monica, Sony Band, they're all making one game for the PS4 this generation. Guerrilla Games is doing 2, I know, maybe 3, if they can put out a new Horizon game really fast. But they are still a way bigger studio than Sucker Punch. They have around the 270 people at Gorilla versus around 120 people at Sucker Punch. So I think that the new Sucker Punch game will be released in 2019 at the earliest, but that doesn't mean that we can't see it this year. So they need some surprises at E3, and a ton of other games have been announced way too early as well, like The Last of Us Part 2, and Uncharted 4 was also 2 years. An E3 2017 announcement makes a lot of sense, but for now we will have to wait. It looks promising though, and I really like Sucker Punch games, so I can't wait. I will probably not be finishing this one in one sitting though, especially if it's an open world RPG. Subscribe for way more deep dive